What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I figured we'd go into tonight's Thursday night game, which very interesting game. They did this last year, and it has nothing to do with the game, but I want to go into something that's just been so apparent the last couple of years, and it makes no sense with the rule changes to protect all these players. But this is the second year in a row that we literally have more teams that have a backup or an injured quarterback than teams that have a starting quarterback. Either a starter's been replaced, a starter's been hurt. Almost every matchup, it's pretty insane. And they started this last year too with Tua, and then they started doing it with other quarterbacks, where only like 5 quarterbacks played a whole year. So I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to do some type of deal where they start running multiple quarterbacks like college or something, because I think it's honestly to see who's a draw. So for example, like the Niners tried it out with Yance, didn't work, or Lance didn't work out. They tried it out with Jimmy G, didn't work out. Tried Darnold, and then it landed on Purdy, and he seemed to get the best, in my opinion, draw pop from the crowd. So again, I'm not saying these guys can't get hurt. Just the frequency in which quarterbacks are getting hurt is absolutely ridiculous. Now, going into the storyline, so I think there's going to be more injured quarterbacks going forward, and they're going to play a prominent role, in my opinion. They'll go into, in my opinion, the injuries and what it means. It might even be because, if you remember the running back conversation, they talked about the running back, how they're becoming obsolete, and the teams are saying we don't need a top running back. We can just get a couple running backs. Soon, running backs aren't going to be taken in the first round. They don't need max contracts. And then the running backs all came out and complained. And now you got quarterbacks going down. So, and then you happen to have 2 of the running backs that were holding out right here. So I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen, but as you can see, Jacobs is questionable. Probably means he's going to have a crazy good game. Anytime they're questionable, they seem to come out and go nuts. Look what Parsons just did for the Cowboys. But anyway, not to go on a tangent. At the end of the day, I do like the Raiders here for the cover. I get Herbert's out. But the Clippers, not the Clippers, freaking mixing my sports up. The Chargers, in my opinion, just have way more impressive players on paper. And I don't think people are looking at the Raiders and really seeing talented guys. At least the Chargers have their receivers. You see what Keenan's doing. Adams is frustrated, and he's their best guy, and he's being doubled up essentially by Keenan. Mike Williams, I don't know if he's playing or not. He's always hurt, but I think he's in. The defense, in my opinion, even though they're playing like crap, again, you got Bosa, you got James, you have a team with a lot of potential, and I think it's going to be hard to get people on a team. What was the last week? 3-0, the Raiders score. So I just have a feeling that people aren't going to be all over the Raiders. They've looked pretty bad. And to me, nothing would justify this 3-point spread. Again, the Chargers did a 6-0. So they definitely could be, playing in those seeds. You had a team, again, like the 2 lowest scores of the season back-to-back were by the Raiders and Chargers. All that being said, while I like the Raiders to cover, I think more of the public's going to be on the Chargers. And I think Staley, I said for a while he was going to get fired early in the season, but now that this would knock them out of the playoff hunt, I think they're going to get knocked out, and Staley's going to get fired this week. And then they're probably going to bring in Moore and let him have some fun to finish out the season. The Raiders, I think, more are going to prepare for next year. But either way, they'll probably keep him in the hunt, but they're definitely not going to do anything. Also, I think they might be pushing AOC. It's a political season, and he's looking pretty bad, but they're talking like he's good. So I'm curious to see what they do with him. He definitely might have, in my opinion, a pretty good end to the year, at least better than what he started. So, yeah, I like the Raiders for the cover, and I like the over. Now, it's set very low, which you might think, okay, well, people are going to take the over, which they might. But you got 2 crappy backup quarterbacks. So there's a very good chance people are going to see that. Look at the 6-0, look at the 3-0, look at the fact these teams have not scored. They play a slow pace. terrible in the red zone, and they might take the under. So I feel like public might be split on this. If it was set at like 30.5, then I'd be way more hesitant. But 34.5, you're in the mid 30s. It's just basically online for two crappy offenses. Two crappy offenses, by the way, who are in the bottom of the league this year at going over. So between the metrics and where I think the public's going to be, I like the over in this game. I like the Raiders cover more than I like the over, but I still like both plays. So pretty quick one. Raiders cover the 3, and I think it goes over the 34.5. And yeah, I'll be going into obviously the rest of the games. There's a couple good games. Like I said, going forward, I think we're going to have a lot of interesting games and easier to read games, just because certain teams losing and certain teams winning just makes absolutely no sense unless you want to knock out half of your playoff picture in week 15, which I just don't see them doing, especially with the last week of the season always having a lot of convenient divisional matchups for the winner's going to get in, or wild card matchups, etc. Someone asked me to do the last 4 weeks of the season, essentially using like the simulator. I'll do that. I did do my preseason simulation, and I don't like to pretend like, oh, I have a different, but times have changed. Obviously, we have a much different playoff picture than before the season started. That being said, my playoffs are still pretty darn, like, they really haven't changed too much. If you watch my before the season, or it might have been like week 2 playoff prediction ranking where I went through it with the simulator, not much has changed. A couple teams that I had getting booted in the first round anyway are going to get in, and some teams that some teams that I had getting booted in the first round aren't going to make it in, and other teams are going to get in their spot. But for the most part, nothing's going to change too much. But I will do the last 4 weeks, and I can go into the playoffs where I think what matchups I think we're going to have, who I think is going to win what division, and who's going to, of course, I think win the Super Bowl. You probably know my Super Bowl pick if you've been following my channel. I have a lot of conviction behind it. And if you're interested, like I said, for some of these, like, it's just easier. I found a way to, finally, I got the Patreon launched. So I've been posting the entire football slate basically Wednesday. That goes on Patreon. And then for things like simulation, future videos, things like that, I always make a point of getting them on there. So I'll probably put that on there this week at some point. Like I said, there's obviously, we got Thursday, then we're going to have some basketball coming up, and then we're going to have the Sunday slate. But I'll release the rest of the Sunday picks. They'll probably be out. I'll put them out tomorrow, give people a couple days to make their picks. And like I said, we'll still be covering basketball and such. It's just a lot of videos, so I'm trying to cover what I can and also pick our spots. And I love the Raiders here for the cover. I love the over. And yeah, well, I should say I really like the over. I like the cover more, but I still like them both. I just wanted to thank everybody. I can't say it enough. It's really awesome to be able to do this. Again, YouTube cut us off at the knees, but with all the support, it's been a lot of stress relieved, to be quite honest, because at first I was just doing this as a hobby, and what happens is it's almost like dating somebody. You're not really official, and then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, what movie do you want to watch tonight? And it's like, oh shit, we're official now. That's kind of what happened with me and YouTube. It was a hobby, and then the more love, the more support, the more I saw people engaging, and we built a great Discord, awesome community. It really did become more like a secondary job now, and it's something that I enjoy doing. I obviously like it better when we're winning, but I think it's a good thing to go into, especially in these times. There's so many lies, there's so many, you hear about whatever you want to call it, but the oligarchy is what I essentially call it, where everything's controlled. And there are so many more people now understanding that the NFL's rigged. Some of the stories we've gone into have been really over the target. The Chiefs won. Deadspin puts out that article about the Chiefs fan being racist. I said I had an idea that maybe they're going to start having a couple really ridiculous games. Sure enough, the next 2 weeks, they screwed against the Packers, or quote, screwed against the Packers, quote, screwed against the Bills. And the same article, the same publication that was putting out the remarks about the kid is now saying, oh, the NFL scripted, the Chiefs are getting screwed, this is ridiculous, Mahomes is ready to blow a gasket. I don't think those things are coincidences. So looking for those things, and there's always people that bring stuff to my attention, so it makes it a lot more, of course, easy to find where they're heading with some of these narratives and how they all tie together. But yeah, like I always say, I do appreciate all the support, especially nothing worse than when we have a rough night, miss a bunch of picks. Our last football week was a good one. I think we finished 11-6 or 11-7, with a couple plus odd money lines. As you know, I'm not going to take the Raiders to win this game. I'm taking the cover. I never take minus odds. It's just too much, in my opinion, to have. You need too high of a hit rate to cancel out the juice. So that's why I like the covers. And this doesn't seem like a game where we're going to get a win no cover. If anything, I think people are going to be again on the Chargers for both. So I think the Raiders definitely get the cover. So yeah, I'll have the rest of the football out probably tomorrow, and I'll be covering basketball too. Like I said, just some days we got like 3 sports going on, and I'm trying to take care of other stuff as well. But I have been eyeing the basketball, and again, we talked about it. I think it was it was whatever Warriors video I put out, went into how I had a feeling Draymond Green was going to one-up himself and, challenge himself to do something a little more drastic than the chokehold on Gobert. And sure enough, we get whatever you want to call it. To me, it looked like a swinging back fist. Chuck Liddell kind of swinging back fist. Looked like he got some inspiration from the Iceman. So, yeah, you never know. It just seems like a lot of these narratives are easy to read. The NBA is really WWEing itself, getting ready for the road to the finals. And I have no doubt we're going to see the same thing going on here. Again, Bills, Chiefs now writes itself in the playoffs, so all these different things. And again, I always appreciate everyone in the Discord. I can't be in there all the time, but it's always lively in there, and I'll go in there and see somebody with a really interesting theory or just a straight up observation that's true, and it makes it where it's a lot easier to put everything together. So as I always say, take care, happy earnings, and we will have, obviously, middle of the holiday season, so it's also been a little busier. My sister's coming in a little early this Christmas year, so I'll be doing my best to get videos out, but she'll be here for a little bit. So, like I said, if I can't get a video out every day, I will try my best, but I do appreciate everybody, and I hope everyone has a great Christmas. Obviously, we're a little bit away, but I just want to say it now in case I don't get a video out on Christmas or the day before. Just want to say it, to the people that are getting in the spirit, whatever holiday you celebrate, I should say, in these times, But yeah, I just think, especially after New Year, we'll be able to kind of get back on track, get more videos out. Just been a busy winter season, which is good. Being busy is a good thing. But yeah, I can't imagine that too much money is going to be on the Chargers, or I'm sorry, on the Raiders here. So my 2 plays are going to be the over and the Raiders for the cover. So take care and happy earnings.